Welcome to this episode of Valley Voice. I'm your host, Jack Ashby. This episode is all about the 500th episode of Wildcat Weekly, which will be celebrating March 6th. So be sure to stay tuned on YouTube and make sure to subscribe to Neuqua Media for our updates on the 500th episode. For our first segment, we got the opportunity to sit down with Miss Piehl and talk about the origins of Wildcat Weekly. Miss Piehl is also the first person who started Wildcat Weekly.
Yeah, so when I applied for the position, for the teaching position at Neuqua, there was definitely a want to have a newscast, and my prior experience was in news, and I said that that is something that I definitely was passionate about and that I could help them to reach that goal and to produce a newscast. So I'd seen the stuff that we were producing, and I knew what was happening at the college level. And so when I came over to Neuqua, I had done numerous shows just being at the two other places beforehand that I just kind of had a vision of how I wanted it to look. But back then there was 2 edit bays that were nonlinear, and then there were 2, which we call them cuts only, which were tape deck to tape deck. So there was 4 total. So you had 20 people in a class, and you had just limited resources back then when we first started off.
Welcome back. Today I have the opportunity of talking with Miss Traut about Wildcat Weekly and how it got started and just the overall process of Wildcat Weekly. Miss Traut, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks.
Great. Well, thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome.
So yeah, let's get right into it. So Wildcat Weekly is a very rigorous program. It takes a lot of work, and I'm sure behind the scenes to get everything started. So where did this idea first come from, and how did it get off the ground?
Well, the teacher who started it back in 2001, Jennifer Doggett was her name at the time. She is the one who created Wildcat Weekly and started with it, and their first episode aired in November of 2001. And then I started at Neuqua in the fall of 2002, and I heard that we did this program called Wildcat Weekly. So I thought, all right, we have a weekly news program. So we had a show every single week. And when she did it, it wasn't every week. So I think that first year there was about maybe 7 or 8 episodes. And then when I came out in 2002, I heard weekly, so we did a show every single week. So we average about 29 or 30 episodes per year.
Okay. So yeah, that's cool. So what's some of like the biggest things that you've learned from your students? Like what have you, like you know you usually teach the whole program yourself, but what are some of the things that your students have taught you throughout the years?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. There's a lot of things that they've taught me. Patience, I think, is the biggest thing. Because they are learning. They're learning this process. It's all new to them, how to create a news story. And having been in the industry myself for a number of years, I saw professionals do it, and they were able to turn around stories every 2 to 3 hours, no problem. And for students, it takes them longer because they're learning. So I think that was the biggest thing that they've taught me over the years, is just to have patience while they are learning the process and getting that done.
That's very cool. So along with some of that patience stuff, what are some of the biggest successes you've had throughout this process, and what are some of the struggles that you've had as well?
The biggest successes, there's been a few times where the program has been honored, either by the Midwest Media Educators Association. We've taken first place in the video festival competition a few times, and there was one year where we were honored as the best newscast in the Chicago Midwest area by the National Academy of Television National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. And I believe that was probably the highest honor we've ever received, because that's professionals in the field who are looking at all these entries, and they voted us the best newscast out of all the student entries. So that was probably definitely the pinnacle of Wildcat Weekly and the highlights. Some of the struggles are, I don't know if there really have been. I think the students might differ in my opinion. They may say that the deadlines are their biggest struggle every week.
Yeah, of course.
But sometimes it's coming up with creative and new story ideas week after week, because when you get to do 500 shows, that's a lot of different story topics. Some of them year after year we still talk about the same things, but sometimes it's trying to come up with some new and fresh ideas.
So yeah, along with these new and fresh ideas as well, what do you think this particular episode is going to be different compared to other episodes throughout the school year?
I'm excited about it because we're taking the chance to look back over 18 and a half years worth of material. And there's been so many changes in those 18 and a half years, from the technology, because we used to record everything on VHS tape, and we used to edit tape to tape, and now everything's digital. So that's a huge difference. We get to look back on all of the different opens that the students have created. We're going to talk with some of the former students who were sitting in the same seats that you were, who are now doing journalism on a professional level. So there's lots of things we get to look back on. I'm very excited about the episode.
And then also kind of going all the way back, what are some of the things that you think the students have learned? Like, what do you think are some of the biggest lessons that the students have been able to take away from the Neuqua Media program?
I think a number of different things. Time management, because you have to plan your time wisely when you're putting a news story together, because we do have firm deadlines, and you have to meet those deadlines. So figuring out when to do your interviews, how much time you have, but yet getting it all done and planning your time wisely when you're involved with so many other different school activities. That's a big thing. Communication, because all the students have to communicate with others outside of this class at some point, whether it's scheduling an interview or doing an actual interview like what you're doing now. So learning how to communicate, how to ask them questions, how to find out more about the topic that they want to do a story on. I think those are the two biggest things that students are taking away from this program.
Okay, and then also with the 500 episode, it's a very big trademark. Congratulations as well on it.
Well, thank you.
Well. But do you think we'll see anything like maybe some Easter eggs to say, or some maybe tiny things that we've seen throughout the past years of Wildcat Weekly, or any special things we should look out for?
There's a couple surprises that I have for the students when we celebrate that day. I don't want to give it all away, but we definitely are going to be looking back over 500 episodes, and celebrating the fact that we hit this milestone, because not too many shows out there have the chance to hit 500 episodes, so it's definitely worth celebrating.
And last but not least, we've been, as Neuqua Media, there's been so many congratulations, so many successes with the program, so many recognitions throughout the region and nationwide as well. So how do you think that Neuqua Media is able to attain its elite status, and what really keeps it going?
It's the students. It's the dedication of the students. It's the fact that they are always striving to produce the best stories that they possibly can. They push themselves. They want to be the best. They want to produce the best. They want to do good work that not only them, their peers can be proud of, but also the community in the school can be proud of. And I think that's what helps us to maintain the high level quality of programming that we do, is the students' desire to produce the best.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to be here, and be sure to look out as well for the 500th episode of Wildcat Weekly, and yeah, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well, and you'll be updated on current news, not only just Neuqua Media, but the 500th episode as well. Thank you, and have a good rest of your week.